Hello, and welcome to the Mirrored Muse podcast, a sanctuary for the soul and a spark for the revolutionary spirit, where our truth is reflected, our radiance remembered, and our spirit set free. I'm your host, Whitney Amber, and together we'll journey into the depths of what it means to awaken, embody, and expand as the muse of our own life. Through soulful storytelling, raw reflections, guided practices, and revolutionary conversations, this podcast is here to truly meet you in your own becoming. So, let's take a deep breath, soften our edges. It's time to step into the mirror. This is your invitation to rise. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Mirrored Muse. Now, before we drop in today, I want to invite you to just take a breath with me. Nothing fancy, just let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let yourself receive whatever is here for you. And just arrive in this moment with me. Because today's episode didn't come from planning at all. It came completely out of nowhere and just from paying attention. Like the loveliest reminder and surprise of just how the universe shows up, which is always on time. And let me tell you, I love when the universe delivers messages with a little drama and some personality. You know what I'm saying? A little flair, a little hello, are you watching this? And this is absolutely one of those. So let's get into it. So January 29th. If you know, you know. I had been counting down all month long for this day because I'm a Bridgerton lover, and this is when part 1 of season 4 dropped. I was so jazzed. Also, mom was gone, thank G, because she doesn't vibe like most Southern moms. She can't really handle the sexy spice, you know what I'm saying? So I get my lavender London fog prepped and ready. I'm getting cozy. I push play, and I kid you not, within 2 minutes, I had a very obvious, very magical blue jay sighting. Now, I'm not really like a big bird person, but they do show up a lot for me, but this one was completely out of the blue. And what made it stand out was the contrast. I mean, these little beauties are hard to miss in general, but it had also snowed, so with the white backdrop, just, chef's kiss. And for the last several days, I've been seeing cardinals. Same place, same timing, same kind of gentle rhythm. And honestly, they had become familiar, comforting, and predictable. But then suddenly, blue jays. Bright, bold, unmistakable in their own way. And the initial spark that got my attention was when one flew over and perched right up on the back of a chair that sits on the front porch at my mother's home. And this chair is positioned perfectly in the tiny line of sight of the front window, which could have only been seen from where I was sitting inside at the time. And this little guy is looking right at me. So it felt like more than just a sighting, and it totally piqued my curiosity. Then it flew off, so I got up and looked out the window. And once I looked out the window, just to be a little more dramatic, I guess, but I was like, oh no, I can't see through the blinds. I walk over to the door and open it up, and I think it was 11 degrees out at the time. So I open the door, and I see not one, but like, if I had to guess, maybe 7, 8, 9. Let's just say enough that I stopped exactly what I was doing and thought, okay, this kind of feels intentional, you know? So I paused Bridgerton, naturally, because we can't miss the moments. And, like I do, I looked up the energetic and spiritual significance of blue jays. And of course, because timing is literally the universe's favorite language, of course, this is what came through. Speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Crown chakra and throat chakra activation. Protection and boundaries, but like with a backbone. Visibility without apology. Now, as you are, not as a performance. And I literally just sat there for a minute, like, wow, this, isn't so subtle. Because visibility, honestly, has been a massive theme in my life lately. Not visibility as in like in your face or post more or FaceTime without a cause. No. More like visibility as in being seen for who I actually am now. And of course, all of this is unfolding right before the full moon in Leo. Leo is my rising sign. It lights up my first house. And in astrology, your first house is everything identity, being seen, natural gifts, etc. Which, again, energetically, this is about presence, expression, letting yourself take up space without shrinking or masking for the sake of others' comfort. So obviously, I clock that. I don't overanalyze it. I just kind of let it land in my body. So I'm like, okay, got it. And we're done, right? So I move on. 2 seconds later, now I'm back in my little cozy cocoon, Bridgerton, season 4 on the screen. I press play. And the very first thing unfolding is literally a masquerade ball. Masks everywhere. And it took me most of the episode for it to really kick in. And I actually remember just like smiling to myself because I thought, of course, this is how the message continues. Because masks they've just been very present for me lately and all my life really. But most recently, this has shown up not consciously, but somatically, more in the body type of way. I'm back in my hometown right now, and something happens when you return to a place where you learned how to survive. Your nervous system remembers everything. It remembers who you had to be, who you learned was acceptable, what versions of yourself were celebrated, tolerated, ridiculed, judged, or even, quietly discouraged. And without realizing it, all the old masks start flipping through my body like a Rolodex. The good girl mask, the agreeable mask, the Christian mask that I wore at the time, the don't rock the boat mask, the stay small so you don't disrupt the system mask. And suddenly, showing up online doesn't feel hard because you lack clarity. It feels hard because every old version of you is raising her hand asking, but is it like safe to be seen like this here? And this is something I really want to name clearly because sometimes when we struggle to show up, it's not resistance, it's not procrastination, it's not self-sabotage. It's identity friction. It's the tension between who you are now and who you once had to be to belong. Old environments don't just hold memories, they hold last names, receipts, they hold roles. And your body learned those roles before your conscious mind ever did. So when I say visibility has been challenging lately, what I really mean is I've been navigating the choice between authenticity and old protection. You feel me? I want to say that one more time. Like, I have truly been navigating this choice between authenticity and old protection. And watching Bridgerton, watching this emphasis on masks, I realized something really, really significant. Masks aren't inherently bad. They're adaptive, they're intelligent, they form when safety requires them. But there comes a moment, a very quiet, very honest moment, where the mask that once protected you starts preventing you from being recognized. This is the moment, even saying that again after I had written it in my notes, like, oof, I feel that in my heart. So I want to say it one more time because there does come a moment, a very quiet, very honest moment where the mask that once protected you starts preventing you from being recognized. As the season unfolds, there's a theme that struck me so deeply. And without spoilers, there's just this recurring dynamic of being behind the scenes, of living as a maid while actually having a noble birthright. And that landed in my body like truth. Like I felt that to my core. Because how many of us are really doing that? Living behind the scenes of our own lives, supporting, observing, waiting, refining, being the quiet force while knowing deeply on a soul level, I'm meant for more than this. I'm meant to be seen for who I am. And I want to say this gently but very clearly. You don't lose your birthright just because you learned how to survive quietly. You don't stop being who you are just because you once needed to stay hidden. But you can forget. You can forget what it feels like to be fully seen. When the environment keeps rewarding you for staying small, and sometimes the call to visibility isn't loud or urgent, sometimes it arrives as discomfort, as restlessness, frustration, as this shift from watching your life to inhabiting it. Now, this is where the Blue Jay energy really came back online for me. Because Blue Jays aren't chaotic, they're actually very strategic, observant, and discerning. They don't scream constantly or make sound constantly, but when they speak, it matters. And that's the kind of visibility I'm being invited into right now. Not overexposure, not performance, not explaining myself into exhaustion, but accuracy, honesty, integrity. Being seen for who I actually am now. Not at age 17, not who I was at 18, 25, fill in the gaps to my age right now. For being seen for who I am now, and definitely not who I needed to be then. Speaking when it's true, holding boundaries without guilt, letting my presence be felt without apology. And that's a very different relationship to being seen than what I think we often think of, right? Because it's not about demanding attention. It's about no longer hiding. Those are very different. So if you're listening to this and you're a Leo rising too, or an artist, entrepreneur, or honestly any woman who feels the quiet ache of knowing she's meant to be visible in your work, your art, your gifts, your relationship, I want to speak directly to you for a moment. You're not being called to perform. You're being called to embody. You're not being asked to prove your worth anymore. You're being invited to own it and stand 10 toes firmly in it. And maybe that looks like speaking when you'd normally stay quiet, or showing up as yourself instead of the version that feels safest, or letting your presence, art, or work land without managing how it's received. Because this Leo full moon isn't about the spotlight for ego. It's about recognition for the soul. If this is landing for you, I want to offer just a few gentle mirrors, not questions to answer right now, but invitations to just notice. Where are you still wearing a mask that once helped you survive, but now it keeps you small and from being recognized? What version of you shows up automatically when you're around familiar people or familiar places? And what would it look like to let yourself be recognizable, even if it disrupts an old story? Oof, that one got me. Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone the version of you that made them comfortable. And you don't need permission to live from your very own birthright. I find it deeply comforting and honestly kind of hilarious that this message arrived through birds and Bridgerton, which is my favorite TV show, because that's just how amazing the universe really is and how intuition works for me personally. It meets you where you are. It uses what has your attention, and it speaks in symbols before it speaks in words. So again, to my fellow Leo risings, artists, entrepreneurs, and to every woman who feels the heat of this moment, this is your reminder. You're allowed to be seen as the beautiful, brave, and freaking brilliant soul you are. Not once you've perfected it, not once everyone understands, but right now, in this very moment, you don't need to dim your light to be safe anymore. And you most certainly don't need permission to take up the space you were always meant to hold. If nothing else, let this episode be a reminder to just pay attention to the patterns, reoccurring themes, the contrasts, the moments that feel just a little too aligned to ignore. Because sometimes, well, a lot of times, the universe does not whisper. It shows up bright blue right on time, peeps in the window, and makes sure you're paying attention. You don't need a masquerade to be worthy of the ballroom. You just need the courage to let yourself be seen. Now, before we close, I want to offer you one of my personal favorite practices. Just an invitation. And if you are in motion right now, you may either want to pull over, park, or just simply pause this episode until once you are at home or even in a more resting place, maybe even a bathroom, whatever that looks like for you. So if you can, I invite you to stand or sit in front of a mirror. Now, you already know my highest recommendation for mirror practices is to do this either unclothed, in your panties and bra, or lingerie, because our bodies are meant to be seen and appreciated by ourselves first. Always, and with love. Now, if there is no mirror around, you can simply just imagine one. So let your shoulders soften. Let your breath slow. No fixing, no forcing, no rush. Really arrive in the body. And I invite you to bring one hand to your chest or your belly or your neck, wherever feels naturally sensitive right now. And feel the warmth of your own touch. This isn't about looking. It's about arriving. Now, gently look into your own eyes. Not to evaluate, not to correct, just to notice, to see. Let your face be exactly as it is. Let your expression be honest. Let your body exhale. Let your belly relax. And if emotion comes, let it. If nothing comes, that's okay too. Now silently or out loud, say to yourself, this is me. Not who you're becoming, not who you were. This is me. And I want you to stay here for a few breaths, long enough to feel the tenderness, long enough to feel the truth. Then softly say, I allow myself to be seen by life, by love, by the people and experiences meant for me, by God, the universe, source, and the energy that feels my body. I allow myself to be seen by myself. I see you. No proving, no shrinking, no performing. Just you with you. This, her, she, you are the Mirrored Muse. And when you're ready, you can release your gaze and take one final breath. And I hope you carry this version of you, unedited, unfiltered, illuminated, back into your day, your night, your rest, your week. Remember, what's meant for you isn't hiding. You are. The love, the community, the life you're asking for cannot recognize a reflection that isn't true. It doesn't see you under these masks. So the invitation is simple. Step into the light. I'll see you next time on the Mirrored Muse. Thank you so much for trusting me with your time today, for joining this conversation moment, this mirror and movement of remembering. Feel free to keep this conversation going in the comments, and if this episode moved or sparked something within you, I'd be so honored and jazzed if you'd subscribe to the podcast, share it, leave a review, or maybe just invite a friend into the conversation. You can also join our Radiant community on Instagram at The Mirrored Muse, where you'll find more reflections, resources, announcements, and events. So be sure to give us a follow to stay in the know. And until next time, stay wild, stay soft, and never forget, you are the Muse.